Zoom lady tells us the recording is in progress. Welcome back to Cinema Flicks Music Picks. I'm Davey, your host with the most, the beast with the least, and the very least I can do today is say hello, Ryan.
Hello, Davey.
That was the least I could do. Doing more than that is say that we are here to talk about 1973's 1973's Phantom of the Paradise. 73's Phantom of the Paradise. Yeah. Just about a foreplay there. It's from 1974. Yeah. So Ryan has the Scream Factory version. Yes. Yeah. And I have the Arrow version. And they're both wonderful because they contain the film Phantom of the Paradise by Brian De Palma from 1974. Ryan, this movie's absolutely gonzo nuts. It's everything in the movie. Should we do a brief plot synopsis? I don't think we need to go through it beat by beat, but it's Phantom of the Opera, hence the title. It's got Picture of Dorian Gray in there as well. It's got Faust, obviously, making a deal with the devil. So essentially, it's a satire on the music business in which our hero, anti-hero really, because he does some pretty nasty stuff as well, the Phantom himself, he makes a deal with Swan, played by the great Paul Williams, and gives over the rights to his music, has his music stolen from him. The music business uses and abuses him, and manic stuff happens from there in every direction. Beach Boys parodies, casting couches for young women auditioning for parts in Swan's productions, Phil Spector parody, which Swan is pretty much entirely. Paul Williams as one of the great villains of 70s cinema, and right through it, a real fun vein of horror, comedy, rock opera, musical, God, just about everything but the kitchen sink. But what do you like about this movie?
Wow, there's so much I like about this movie. I think it's honestly for me, I do love Rocky Horror Picture Show, but I think this movie fills that void a little bit more for me. It's like everything you could want. Like you said, it has hilarious stuff. I mean, right from the first shot, you have this, or first, like, well, I should say at the beginning, you have really interesting, like, voiceover telling you a little narrative.
By Rod Serling from the Twilight Zone, no?
Yeah. As you have these interesting, like, red and black graphics and stuff, it's like, this looks really ahead of its time for 1974. Like, wow. For Brian De Palma, this is interesting, actually. And so then we go to the Juicy Fruits, who are this like teeny bopper kind of band, but they're singing this like tragic lyric about like suicide, basically.
We'll remember you forever, Eddie. Yeah.
And like the singer is like kind of cringe in the best way possible. His voice like cracks like crazy, and like he just looks like he's geeked out, like the whole band does basically. But it's so beautifully shot. The color palette is beautiful between the color on all their shirts, the color on the stage, the lighting and everything. It just looks absolutely gorgeous, like way better than an early-ish movie for Brian De Palma should look. Like, it's brilliantly shot, this scene and the whole movie in general. But just hilarious lyrics there, great parody of that era of music. I mean, they're just Juicy Fruits, like, and so that just starts you off, and like you have so many great musical numbers throughout this. Songs written by Paul Williams. I mean, whether you're talking about that song or you're talking about the Faust song, which Winslow plays. You know, Jessica Harper does at one point or another. There's Paul Williams version in the song. I mean, the movie. It's all beautiful stuff. Um, Beef's hilarious song, which is so over the top. You know, kind of making fun of like, I guess the glam rock
Yeah, kind of
scene,
glam.
basically, kind of. I mean, it's like very feminine outfit, but like big muscular dude singing these like hyper heterosexual lyrics, but it's like extremely flamboyant. So it's like it's obviously poking fun at that time in the music scene, and it's like over the top. And he's like a really operatic singer, like very theatrical. Um, so it's very over the top and funny. You got the song by the Undead, which is basically like proto Judas Priest
Mhm.
sounding. Like it sounds just like freaking Judas Priest, and
And
it's
they
like, what
look
is
like
that?
Kiss.
Yeah, they look like Kiss or like glam rock or whatever. It's awesome. That's such a great song. Yeah, Upholstery by the Beach Bums, which is a Beach Boys ripoff, obviously. You know, you have a lot of beautiful songs by Phoenix, who is played by Jessica Harper. And she's awesome in this. I mean, the vocals a lot of the time with her kind of remind me of like a Karen Carpenter type of thing, like a lot of just like kind of sort of schmaltzy 70s rock, but like really good. Like I love that kind of stuff. Or 70s pop, I should say. Um, but yeah, I mean, just great music. I'd say a lot of the acting is pretty good. I think Jessica Harper is good. Um, I mean, you definitely feel for her throughout the movie. But you also see her get tempted by Swan or Paul Williams' character. You see like a different side of her coming up where she becomes very fame focused, and like you see the kind of innocence that she has at the beginning of the movie go away. She becomes more vain and overtaken by Swan, who's basically like Satan, essentially. Um, Although he was once just a man himself who sold his own soul basically to the devil. But he was already a pretty vain person. He was gonna kill himself because he was getting too old, like, or not looking as good as he did before. Like, you know, definitely a very narcissistic kind of character already. Um, but I don't know. So you have him. He's awesome. He's so hateable in the movie. I mean, like I said, he even when we see him that he was like a normal person before, he's still such a narcissistic prick that you don't even really feel bad for him as you see that switch. It's just like you were already there. You just kind of signed it. You put it in writing basically. But he's so manipulative and um, evil and I guess charming in his own manipulative way. I mean, he obviously swoons people over with his power. Um, Winslow, who's played by what's his name?
William Finley.
Yeah, William Finley. I mean, I guess you're kind of supposed to root for him, but you also don't because he's a prick too, honestly. I mean, he's kind of violent and erratic and monstrous at times, but like, and obviously, like, honestly, like, he never really seems like the nice guy. He's always kind of erratic and creepy right from the
Mhm.
beginning. I mean, he wrote this play about selling or musical about selling your soul to the devil. Like, he obviously already has some darkness in him. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like we watch this like innocent dude kind of have a transformation. Like, that's just not the way it is. He's a tragic character. kind of an anti-hero. I don't even know. Like, I mean, he is, but
Yeah.
like at the same time, he really is just the monster, honestly. I mean, you
Yeah, I mean,
don't.
it goes back to Phantom of the Opera, doesn't it? Where, by Louis Gaston, where, and then you add on that bit of Faust, and you add on a bit of Dorian Gray, and Dorian Gray's he's not an anti-hero; he's the villain of his own story too. So, like, when you combine all these things, it does kind of add up. Where there's really only shades of gray. There's not really black and white.
Yeah, and so it's like, I mean, he cares for Phoenix, but it's in a creepy way. It's honestly like a stalker kind of way. Like, there's even a scene where she's kind of like making love to Paul Williams, um, which I never knew I needed to see in my life. But
Yeah, I've seen some of the sex tapes that he's released over the years, and he's a machine.
yeah, I mean, it's interesting, I'll say. But yeah, they're like making love kind of. But
Yeah.
more just like nibbling on his ear basically.
Yeah.
But like um but like Winslow, he's just like watching from the window and like crying in like a creepy like Buffalo Bill kind of way. Like it's like, I don't even feel bad for you. You're just like a creepy stalker ass dude. Like they're just trying to get it going and you're like up here crying like a little baby. It's like, like so he's not very likable. And I think that makes his character work in a way because it's like he is kind of like this weird, like antisocial type of dude. And even at the end, it's like he's like, I'm here kind of help you or whatever. And like she's like, I guess she kind of like had a sort of positive opinion in like the brief amount of time they got to know each other. Like he kind of latches on to it.
Yeah.
Like he holds on to it way more than I think she ever did. I think she probably forgot about him like 10 minutes after he left, and he like holds on to it for like months or whatever the hell it is. So it's like, it's interesting there. You really don't have a hero in this movie. You don't really have, I mean, I think Phoenix is probably the character who is the most like likable or innocent, and we see her go in some dark paths, but like assumedly she kind of comes out of that by the end of it. Like I think, I don't know, it's one of those movies where it's like you don't really have any real character arcs. They kind of just are who they are. I mean, like they do have character arcs, but like you don't feel like they really learned anything. Like you don't feel like Winslow learned anything by the end of it. You don't feel like Paul Williams learned anything. I guess Phoenix might have kind of learned something, but we don't really know. It's like I don't know.
I think that goes to what I kind of love about the film is that
Yeah.
it all over it is the message that people in the music business at a certain level are just either nuts or evil.
Yeah.
And Paul Williams' Swan is obviously the personification of that. He owns Death Records. He's I mean, in a lot of places he is the Phil Spector parody. They're doing quite a lot of the kind of rumors that went around with the way Phil Spector acted. And then you get him literally doing the Faustian pacts and having Winslow sign his career away in blood, which is one of my favorite scenes in the whole.
Oh yeah.
That is such a good scene.
Yeah.
Where
I mean,
Swan says something like, "Everything I've said and more, and here is in it. I'll read it at your leisure." Paul Williams is having a ball in this film. He's having an
yeah.
absolute blast.
He's definitely a lot of the fun of it, I would say. I mean, all the characters are so good though. Like I said, you got Beef, who's played by
Get it, Graham.
yeah, Gert Graham, which is awesome. I mean, so over the top. You know, you've got all the other band members, basically, they all are great characters. I love that scene where they're doing that like audition scene where you have like all those random musicians, like all these different kind of
Yeah.
groups. Like you're the one that's like a Jethro Tull looking
Yeah.
kind of group, you've got all these people, and then you have Phoenix, and it's like that's pretty awesome. Or no, you have Beef. That's where you have Beef. He shows up. Yeah, there he is. Looks like Bruce Campbell with a Jerry curl, basically. But awesome. I mean, Beef just seems like they came right out of a John Waters movie, honestly. So over the top, and I love it. Honestly, I think he's probably my favorite part of the movie once he comes out. It's just like so funny. But
your favorite band?
I love them. They rock. Like I would go
that
see
is
them.
Kiss. That is just Kiss. I'm telling you.
Yeah. But like other things I love about the movie, a lot of great imagery throughout. I mean, you've got like the scene where he smashes his face in the record press, and then he's like running out of the place, all mangled. His face is completely grotesque. I mean, it's like real gory shit,
Yeah.
but like low budget to the point where it's like extremely creepy and disturbing. And then he falls into the river. Like, you've got his scenes where he's like playing the piano and stuff in like his little place, and like it's like those are real dark and sinister. You got a lot of great lighting throughout. I mean, you've got like the scene where all the girls are there getting ready to audition, a lot of vibrant colors there between their clothes, and then also just like the scenery itself. That's really interesting. And that's just a funny scene too. I mean, obviously it's very telling. I think that this movie, between Phoenix's character and scenes like that, it really shows how much women were exploited in the music industry too. Because I mean, she is a woman who came into the industry with good intentions. She's just this really great girl taken advantage of by Swan and just in general, and like gets wrapped up in the fame at that point, but you see her less happy at that point because she's basically an object at this point and not even like a human anymore to any of them. So it's like that is a sad and that's a stark reality that was happening in that time, and not that's really any better in the music industry now. I mean, that still happens. It's a recurring sad thing of a lot of the misogyny and sexism and the music industry and the film industry and etc. But it definitely shows it here pretty real. So I do think that's why she is the character you empathize with the most, or you feel the most for, because I mean, she has a good heart. She's just getting taken through the motions, and you see the pressures of fame really kind of mounting up on her. But other things I love, I mean, it's funny, this movie, it's absurd. I love all the spoofs and stuff. I love just how absolutely anarchistic it is. I love the end, I mean, like the deaths of certain characters. I won't say in case anybody's gonna watch, but that's real over the top and interesting. You honestly feel like some kind of proto Carrie vibes there.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like some of like the film choice and some of the chaotic nature of that end scene kind of reminds me of what we feel in Carrie during the dance scene. Kind of a little bit of an overlap for De Palma there, obviously 2 years later with Carrie. But I mean, this is my favorite De Palma film. I'm not really a Brian De Palma fan. I think he has a couple movies I like, but I think he's made a lot of absolute shit, if I'm going to be completely honest. Pretentious, stupid shit that gets way overrated. But I think with this movie, he hit it home. It's awesome. It's funny. It's absurd. It's perfectly low budget, but also well made at the same time, to where it feels like a very professional, almost a professional look at B movies rather than just being a B movie itself, which is where I kind of bring in the Rocky Horror thing, which was kind of a movie being a B movie intentionally. That's kind of what this feels like more than actually being a B movie. Like I said, it's well acted. You really don't like any of the characters except for Phoenix. I mean, they're not really meant to be likable. They're very complex characters, which shows you the music industry basically. But you don't leave really caring for any of them. I don't even care for Winslow. But you know, I'm trying to think. I mean, great music, like I said, a lot of funny stuff, a lot of great parodies of different bands throughout time or artists. Just overall, it's a really fun ride. I can't recommend it enough. I remember first seeing this movie probably about 5 years ago and just being absolutely blown away. It might even be longer at this point since I saw it the first time, but I was instantly grabbed by the weirdness of it. I'd say it definitely had a big influence in like future movies I would end up watching just because I was so taken by it. And yeah, I just think it's an awesome homage to a lot of great like stories of the past and did something fresh that was necessary. I mean, this was a year before Rocky Horror, so take it for what it is.
Yeah, the Rocky Horror was already a stage play at this point, though.
It was.
Yeah.
It was a stage play. What was that? 72,
72, 73. Yeah.
Yeah. But still, I bet that this could have had some influence in making the movie.
Yeah, in
Rocky
terms of
Horror.
how to turn the stage play into a film, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I really like it. If I was gonna rate it, I don't know. I'd say maybe like a 8.5 out of 10. I think it's a really great movie. It's not like the best thing ever made. I don't really have any direct negatives about it because it's like too weird to really dislike anything. It kind of cancels itself from criticism just because it is so insane that I don't know what I could really say bad because I just like it for what it is. But I'm not going to say it's like a 10 out of 10 movie. In his catalog, it is. It's the movie to see, in my opinion. This and Carrie and maybe Carlito's Way. I don't
Raising
know.
Cain.
Like,
Raising Cain.
Raising Cain, yeah. I guess Sisters is all right, but it's much, much better than Scarface, guys.
Yeah.
Scarface sucks. I hope that makes a lot of people mad, but it sucks. It's terrible.
Fuck Scarface. Fuck it.
And fuck Dress to Kill. That movie sucks.
What doesn't suck is another Michael Caine film, George the Revenge. Available in
That's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Honestly, we should have done Dress to Kill on Zero.
Yeah, but people always give Brian a good review because he's done some good stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you've said pretty much everything there is to say about the film, really. I mean, it's you've covered all the major bases. I like the fact that there's no set hero, because then you can concentrate on what it is, which is really using literary sources to parody current pop culture in terms of the music scene of the day, and you're getting someone in Paul Williams is part of the music scene of the day. So someone from the movie business from Brian De Palma has this resource of Paul Williams, who's involved with the music scene, because at this point, Paul Williams has already had his own hit singles, and he's written massive songs for the Carpenters and stuff. So it's no coincidence that he's the kind of guy you want for something like this. Plus, he's got a weird streak, Paul Williams, as well. He's very versatile and he can do oddball and weird. It sounds like this soundtrack, and again, this film, it's all over the place. So this review will probably come off the same because it's this kind of movie. the soundtrack, it's hard to believe that Paul Williams wrote every track because it's so all over the place as well. I mean, it starts off with a doo-wop song by the Juicy Fruits. And then we get, when it turns into Carburetor, the Juicy Fruits, the same band, become the Beach Bums. And all of a sudden they're doing probably the best Beach Boys parody ever. I mean, it sounds immaculate. So it's not just that he's doing these great kind of parody songs. They're wonderful songs as well. They're exactly the type of song you can imagine. Like I can hear the early Beach Boys on I Get Around or whatever doing or what's it called, Volume 2, doing the Carburetor song, you know, like upholstery. Yeah, I can hear them. Was it Shut Down Volume 2? I can hear it on an album like that. I mean, it's such a nonsense idea, but in the context of the film, that is an act of theft, and that's why Winslow hates Swan, because he's taken the melody from his great song that he's written, Faust. I was not myself last night, couldn't set things right with apologies of flowers. And he's doing a kind of solo piano thing, I suppose in the context of time, and Elton John, Billy Joel kind of thing. And it's very personal to Winslow, and he doesn't want to sell out and give his songs away to these teeny bopper types. And he takes it very personally when he's told the songs are going to be used, but for the Juicy Fruits and whatnot, and that's what leads into a lot of the tension and a lot of that. I mean, there's jail subplots, and there's, you know, is he dead? Isn't he? And who's the Phantom? Well, we know it's Winslow, but you know, there's so many subplots that it'd be pointless going into. We'd be here for an hour and a half just talking about those. So he's well hitting just the big beats. But then Paul is also doing like his own version of Faust, which is a totally different song. It's like a much more arranged 70s version of the exact same song, where Paul Williams is singing it now as Swan. Although in the context of the film, he's doing it as the Phantom because he's given his voice to the Phantom, which again is quite a fun parody. The idea that the record company will literally steal your voice from you, you know, when you sign away your life literally with your blood. And then, unrelated to the internal aspects of the film, Paul also writes these great songs, as you say, for Jessica Harper. Like Old Souls and tracks like that. They're just brilliant songs that just sound like these could have been hit singles. Like, no problem, these could have been hit singles, some of these tracks. One issue I think the movie does suffer from, if you're not in tune with it, pardon the pun, is that it's paced and edited like music. It's not done like a movie. De Palma intentionally wanted to have it edited and cut in the way that an album would be. So it does jump around a lot, and there's tonal shifts, and it's almost like you're going from track to track instead of scene to scene. It's very much how it comes across. And it's edited by the guy who, I can't remember his name, but he went on to be the editor on Star Wars and won an Oscar for that. And Empire Strikes Back. So he's the editor here, so clearly knew what he was doing to go into that stuff. Because Star Wars is, as you know better than anybody, pretty fantastically edited. Paul Williams, for me, you said there's nobody likable in it. Paul Williams in this is so slimy and evil. I think he's ridiculously likable because of that, because I just love when a character becomes so evil and wicked and nasty, they kind of cross over into being likable again for me. It's like,
well, I was
sorry,
no, you go ahead.
I was going to say it's why my favorite character in Wizard of Oz is the Wicked Witch of the West, because she's just enjoying being an evil bastard. My favorite character in Star Wars is the Emperor, because he just likes being evil. There's no reason for it. He just likes that kind of stuff. And Swan is very much that. It started out with a bit of vanity, but now he likes messing with people for the sake of it. He doesn't have to. He can make things a lot easier, but he likes to just make people's lives a bit miserable as he goes through it. He likes to be rude, nasty, and put people down. And I don't know, Paul Williams just sells every line that he does in here, and he's I think he's in a competition with Gerrit Graham to see who can do the most over the top performance at points. I wonder if
Yeah.
on set they had a right, see how much further up we can go before Brian tells us to take it down a little bit. We're going a little bit. I mean, when Winslow, I mean, we've not even mentioned the fact there is a scene where Winslow comes in dressed as a woman to try and disguise himself with it, just so he can pull up Swan about using his music. And then Swan's first line when he enters the movie is he sees Winslow not even trying to really look like a woman, just wearing women's clothes. And he goes, "Get that fag out of here." And he delivers it like Sunset Boulevard or something like Norma Desmond's, "Get this fag out of here." Every line Paul Williams delivered is with piss and vinegar and is as camp as Christmas. He's doing it in a totally different way from Gerrit Graham, who's doing a more flamboyant, over the top thing, whereas Paul Williams is almost doing a kind of again Norma Desmond thing or Joan Crawford or something. It's like he's playing that kind of character. Like this scene where he's at the he's announcing his big TV special, and there's a great still from it in here. That scene where he just turns up for no reason at all, wearing a top hat and cape. Why? Because he's the bad guy in a movie, and he should be wearing a top hat and cape. He never wears it again, but this is what he needs to wear to show that he's the bad guy here. He is having an absolute ball playing the part. I think William Finlay is probably cast because he's such an odd character, and Brian De Palma had already used him in bit parts because they would go back to bit parts in future De Palma movies, and he would never get a leading role again, which is a shame because he is good, but he's got those wonderful bug eyes, which really stand out when he's wearing the Phantom mask. I mean, that isn't a comic exaggeration for the covers of these. Like his eyes actually do kind of stand out, like real bug-eyed Marty Feldman efforts.
He looks like a love child between James Spader and Marty Feldman.
Marty Feldman, James Spader, and Warren Zevon or something. Yeah. Something like that. But in a kind of like not in a cruel way. Like he does just have these big eyes that you can see why. Oh yeah, like that would be great in this masked idea that we have. And it doesn't require a lot of acting from him. He's not ever going to be mistaken for a world-class actor, but he does exactly what he needs to do. And as you said, because this film doesn't rely on plot, character development, it's much more a case of archetypes and classical pieces being translated into modern morality tale, really. It doesn't really need him to act too much. The only acting I'd say that's in here is Jessica Harper has to convince you that she could go either way. She could fall to temptation, or she could remain pure, if you like, innocent, whatever. But so it ends up being her Faustian pact in a way. Which way is she going to go? Winslow is already signed in blood, so maybe he's already, he's made his decision. As we know, as Swan tells us on the roof, he's already made his deal years earlier to try and stay forever young, where he tells Winslow, "I'm under contract too." It's just with that great delivery, that great voice of his, that low voice.
There's not much that keeps this movie from almost turning into like Paul Williams made the mistake of letting this guy sign over, and now Paul and Jessica Harper are almost like the victims to this monster. It almost goes in that direction where you almost kind of root for Jessica and Paul Williams. It doesn't stay that way, but there's a time where it feels like the movie is going to go in that direction where like Paul suddenly kind of becomes like the good guy, even though he's a sleazy piece of shit. Like almost happens. But then they changed that completely.
Yeah.
That would have been an interesting direction to go, honestly.
It would have been in a more kind of dramatic version of this film. But I think the way that they're all playing it is very heightened. just means that you can get away with that. You're right. If this was another film, you would be kind of more worried about that kind of thing. Like, oh, is he too sympathetic here? But then he'll say something, Swan will say something that just makes you go, oh, he's a total prick. I love him. He's just a total douchebag. Like when Beef is saying that he doesn't want to sing Winslow's track, he's like, I can't hit those notes. You need a girl singer for this. And and Swan says, you can sing this better than any bitch. Like, just bizarre dialogue that a non-actor like Paul Williams shouldn't be so good at delivering, but he's in tune with Brian De Palma. It's one of the great kind of collaborations here, where he's not a co-writer on the film itself, but his music and his dialogue that comes from it kind of almost make them a collaborative act in a bizarre way, where the music's almost more like the dialogue in a lot of places. And Swan's very much a dark character, but kind of likable because of the way Paul Williams plays it. You wouldn't know that he wasn't really an actor at all before this. You wouldn't, I don't think. You'd probably think that William McKinley was the non-actor, if anybody.
Was this his first role?
May well have been. I can't think of any before it, because he was in Smoking the Bandit, but that was after. Yeah. And I don't know how you can watch this and not think he should have been in Smoking the Bandit more, rather than the kind of, the short jokes that they just have him in those films for. Like, to me, they should have had Paul Williams. Like, he should have been Smokey, never mind just a sidekick. Like, I'd love Paul Williams and more stuff. And Penguin and Batman the Animated Series and things. And as I was saying to you on Facebook the other day, he has the terrific song that ends the movie, The Hell of It, which is such an impossibly dark song. Oh, what have you found?
I knew he had a role before that. He was in a Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
He was in Battle. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew he had one before that.
That's funny.
I love that movie too.
Yeah. That's funny. But he's got the track at the very end, so it's not even part of the narrative. A bit like the film opens with Goodbye Eddie, and it's not really part of the narrative. We end it with the track Hell of It, which is very much a nihilistic way to end. There's no hope at the end of this film, really, when you see the again, not to spoil it, because you say some people won't have seen it, but the way that, never mind the main characters, the way the audience that are around to watch what happens at the end act tells you how they'll just move on to the next story in their lives. They're not interested in this little drama that's unfolded, and they'll just move on. So then we get Paul Williams singing this ridiculously dark track about good for nothing, bad in bed, nobody liked you, you better off dead, goodbye. We've all come to say goodbye. Born defeated, died in vain, super destructive, you hooked on pain, and know your music lingers on. All of us are glad you're gone. It's like, wow, this is bleak, but it's still really fun and jaunty. And that's really the kind of way the whole film is. It's nihilistic and it's downbeat and it's depressing and it's dark, until it's not, and it's ridiculously upbeat, fun, hilarious, and then it's a little bit dark for a second again, and you go, oh, that's like they're getting dragged into that room, those poor girls. Oh, I wonder what's happening. Oh wait, something fun's happening out here. So it's kind of challenging your own perceptions of, like, should you be enjoying this in a lot of places that you really like. And as I shared with you, Paul Williams ended up reprising two of these songs on the Brady Bunch hour. And what was the other one? Brady Bunch hour and the Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew comedy hour. And the track that he chooses, good for nothing, bad in bed, nobody liked you, you better off dead, goodbye. The one place where he could have rolled out a Juicy Fruits number, or he could have just done the Rainbow Connection or something like that. Nope, Paul goes with the good for nothing, bad in bed, nobody liked you, you better off dead track, which, wow, wonderful. If you're going to go on to the Brady Bunch Happy Hour or whatever that show was called. And in the middle of their comedy, you're going to sing about how glad you are that somebody's dead because they were a bad lay. Yeah. God bless you, Paul Williams. I'm so happy that you exist. I'm so happy that you exist. Brian De Palma's filmography is a weird one for me as well, because I think that Scarface is one of the most overrated movies ever made. And I think it's been appropriated by the kind of people who just like to think they're a bit like Tony Montana. And I think it's just an attempted over the top Baroque piece, which doesn't work. I like A Few More Than You. I like The Untouchables.
Oh yeah, that's an okay one.
Yeah, I quite like The Fury, but it's after Carrie, it's just like, you've kind of done this movie already.
It's all right.
Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for me, although he's got his place, obviously, when we're talking about the new wave in Hollywood in the 70s, he's not up there with the massive talents. I mean, he starts out as admittedly a Hitchcock ripoff, and then he's got his famous motifs that would kind of see him through. I mean, we see here actually a great sequence that references Touch of Evil by Orson Welles, where Winslow lays a bomb for the beach bums. It's a big crane shot that goes on for ages, exactly like the opening of Touch of Evil, and that also uses split screen, just like here actually, funnily enough, but just like his early movies did, like Obsession and Sisters and things. So, yeah, De Palma's an interesting filmmaker. I always thought could have been a great filmmaker if he'd have put away a few more influences and done more De Palma stuff. I think he could have been really up there.
Yeah.
In terms of, sorry, you can add to that.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had more positive to say about him. I do think he has some movies that are all right. I mean, like you said, The Untouchables. I liked that movie when I was like a teenager. Hasn't really held up for me too well, but I think just because there's better gangster movies out there, or much better for me, in my opinion. But he's good. He just, you see a movie like this and you see, you know, a couple of the others like Carrie and
Yeah,
Fury's all right. That was all right. But like you see like this and you see Carrie especially. I think those are probably my two favorites.
yeah,
They're very, very well made movies. And I think you watch some of his other stuff and it's just kind of a scattered mess. I mean, Dress to Kill has a few moments in it that's okay, but it's mostly a pretty bad movie. Like, and not even bad in an enjoyable sense.
it's pretty slimy, and it's again another variation on his Hitchcock ripoff. You know?
Yeah.
And
then
even in The Untouchables, he has to let you know how much he knows about film history by having the staircase scene from Battleship Potemkin. With the pram going down, he has to include that. I mean, he always needs to let you know that, hey, I know stuff. He's a bit of a
it was better in Battleship Potemkin.
Yeah,
that's such a great scene.
Yeah, it's terrifying, and it doesn't change now the way he does. But yeah, I think that's ultimately. I mean, it's interesting that here we are saying that his best movies for us are Phantom and Carrie, and Carrie's based on a Stephen King book, and this is based on about 5 different literary sources. So it's not that he's not, he has to only do original stuff. He can adapt and turn it into a really interesting piece. But when his filmmaking style changes too much to kind of become this is what I learned in film school type, that's when he really struggles for me. Whereas here, he pretty much makes the decision, nobody's ever made a film like this, so there's no rules, so I'll just make them up as I go along. But because he knows filmmaking anyway, he knows how to make the rules and break the rules, so it works. There's lighting in here that looks giallo, but it looks like somebody who's just seen giallo. It doesn't look like he's copying Mario Bava or something, the way other films look like he's copying Hitchcock. It just looks like somebody who's informed. So this is how to use your influences, literary and film-wise, and make a really terrific film. You gave an 8.5. I'll go a little bit higher. I'll go a 9. Add on an extra 0.5 for Paul Williams' wonderful performance, because I just think that he is, yeah, Paul should have been in a lot more acting wise. I don't know if he wanted to or not, or if it was his issues at the time. He's been very open about his drug addiction and whatnot, but yeah, great to see him still going in his 80s, and still a full head of hair as well, bless him. We spiky haired Paul Williams. I like to see him at the award shows and stuff popping up. So yeah, well, I think we've covered it, Ryan. What do you think? Is that a Facebook thumbs up? Yeah.
No, this was a great time. I'm glad to finally have an outlet to talk about this movie. It's been one that I've liked for a while, and one that I don't know too many people, at least in like the periphery of people I know, that have watched it. So it's cool to get to talk about it on here and hopefully have some people watch it and give us their opinions on the movie as well.
And one thing I would ask, because they both kind of flopped at the box office initially, why do you think this didn't catch on like Rocky Horror did?
I mean,
is it Tim Curry's Frankenfurter performance, which kind of caught on?
That's probably part of it. I think having the musical already too. I mean, there was probably people who were already fans in that sense, and then that movie's gotten pushed, and it rightfully so. I mean, it's a fun movie, and like Tim Curry's brilliant in it. But I think I don't know. It's kind of hard to say, honestly. I think it probably had more of a cultural push. I mean, you know, my theater over here, they play it every single year.
Yeah,
and you have live shows of it still every
yeah,
year.
but that took a while to take off before it became a midnight movie in New York. And it's odd that this never did. And it's an obscure one even in De Palma's catalog, you know, which is
maybe. I mean, it's definitely a darker movie. This one that could probably have a little bit to do with it. I mean,
yeah.
Rocky Horror is a lot of fun,
and this one's a lot more obviously camp fun, and a lot more obvious what the parody is, you know, in terms of they're referencing Frankenstein and whatnot with Frankenfurter and blah blah blah. So the parodies are a lot more obvious, and maybe it just wasn't promoted well. Who knows? But hey, is what is.
I'm kind of glad that, like, yeah. I mean, this obviously has a following. I don't think a movie of its kind was ever going to be a massive success. It's just not that kind of movie, honestly. I think I mean, I like it more than Rocky Horror, but I could see why Rocky Horror is the bigger movie. And this is a dark, kind of sleazy type of movie at times. I mean, it's kind of grotesque at points.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just not a very accessible film, honestly.
Yeah, and there's no yeah, Tim Curry's a very advertisable type of villain to have, whereas Swan's a more intricate one. You know, you can't, you know, he's not got a sweet transvestite track that you can just hook somebody in on with, 10 seconds of camping it up. So Swan's a much more difficult kind of character to surmise, and so is Winslow. It's a much more intricate film. I think it rewards patience, and maybe that's why people have patiently waited for it to catch on over decades rather than instantly. But those that love it, we hope that you do too, and we hope that you've enjoyed this second Flick and Pick episodes with Gavalier and Gallagher, or whatever I called this. I can't remember. I just made a playlist at 2 in the morning one day. But whatever it is, this is episode 2 of it.
Sounds good to me. I had a lot of fun, Davey. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, you're always welcome, apart from times where I don't want you on. You're not welcome at those times.
I probably don't want to be on either.
That's fine. I wouldn't want you. I wouldn't want to be there myself sometimes.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to take some antidepressants and wish.
Yeah.
Check out Ryan's Vinyl Destination. That's no, I'm not stealing Tyler's shtick. It's full of all the content that everybody loves. You know the stuff that you like to watch? It's on Ryan's channel. And I'm talking to you specifically. The stuff that you like is on Ryan's channel, so go and watch it. You know that thing you like? He's done a video about it. Go and search.
Yeah.
There you go.
Definitely.
Star Wars, Twin Peaks, everything.
Yes, it's a good time, and I'd appreciate you subscribing and taking a look. Let me know, comment on the videos. Let me know what you think of them. Let me know what you think of the topics. Been putting a lot of time into them editing wise, especially a few of them like Zero the Hero and the Star Wars video and such. So just give them a look, like I said, and let me know what you think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't, if you're rude and you don't watch Ryan's channel, I might not be your friend anymore.
It really scares me.
Oh, that may be a clue to what our next flicking pick is. There's a lot of people out there hurting, and
it really scares me.
Really scares me. So if you don't know what that's a reference to, hold on to your hats, because we'll be back in about a month's time with some content for you. And if you want a further clue, you'll get it in the sign off. How do we end every video? Be safe out there and love
and mercy.
Yeah, that's a
for
clue.
You and your friends
Yeah,
tonight.
that's a clue as to what we're covering next month. A music channel with film content. Love and mercy. Just do a little bit of go on. Catch up. Folks, thanks for watching. Comments, suggestions, complaints, all welcome, especially the complaints. I don't get enough of them, and I don't understand why. I don't know if YouTube blocks them, but I'd really like some complaints. So Ryan, feel free if you want to leave a complaint about anything.
I will.
Thank you very much. 2 Facebook thumbs up for you, my friend.
Fuck off thumbs.
Yeah. Folks, this is your third thank you for watching. If I do a fourth one, I have to shut down my channel. Good night.